Okay, good evening everyone, and we'll call this regular council meeting of January 16th to order. Typically at the first meeting of the year I have a small address. I'd like to give that this evening. 2016 was a busy year for the City of Estevan. In May we played host to the Western Canada Cup, which was a huge success and allowed us to showcase our community along with Affinity Place. In May as well, we felt the pain as the sister community, Fort McMurray, had a devastating fire. We were able to send much needed assistance from our corner of the province, which was much appreciated. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all of those who gave to help those in need. We were also thankful in 2016 that the twinning of Highway 39 began. By next fall, we should have completed from Beanfate to Estevan. Hopefully the province will continue to work on the twinning until completion from Portal to Regina. 2016 also saw the installation and operation of our CT scan in the Estevan Hospital, which was another positive forward step for healthcare in our community. And I know, Greg, you're on the line. We appreciate all of the assistance that you gave. I know you worked very hard, as did the health board and all of the RMs to help make that happen. It was a huge event. Unfortunately, in 2016, we were also hit with a major rain event, where on July 10th we received between 5 and 7 inches of rain in a few hours. I would like to thank Helen Fornwalt and our EMO group, as well as our emergency services for their quick response, along with our staff, Sask Power, SaskTel, Sask Energy, and all of the responders who gave up their family time, sleep time, and did whatever it took to step up and help alleviate the situation. And we have the fire chief here and deputy. I know you guys put a lot of time in during that time as well, and much appreciated. Kevin, all of our staff did tremendous work. I know the police chief was gone and he felt bad about that, but we can still tease him that his deputy did a great job. Our community rolled up their sleeves and helped out their neighbors, and within a couple of weeks we hosted a very successful summer games. This speaks to the resiliency of our community, and I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the Summer Games Committee and volunteers for a job well done. And Greg, we'll have to get the names from you, from all the committee members, so we can give them certificates as well. We also hosted the Snowbirds in 2016, which proved to be a very successful event. I would like to thank Richard Reese, and Greg, you were chairman on that committee as well, the airport committee, and again, all of the volunteers. Also in 2016 saw the 2-year work of art, the Soldier Tree, put in place across the street from City Hall. We would like to thank Darren Jones for his masterpiece, along with Lester Heinzman for providing the vision to make it happen. The Estevan Legion has also been a proud supporter. Then, as the finishing touch to 2016, we had the municipal election. Again, I'd like to congratulate the successful candidates and thank the previous councillors for their commitment and dedication. In December, we received more snow than we have previously had for the past 100 years. Thanks again to Norm Mack and his staff for a tremendous job in keeping the streets cleared. So it has been an exciting 2016. We look forward to another busy year in 2017. First, a few words on what we hope to accomplish. We hope to start the rehabilitation on King Street, finish a paving on the corner of Sister Roddy and Willock Road, do some sprucing up at the Civic as needed repairs will be underway. Continued improvements, of course, on parks and pathways, and Rod, you've done a great job, and we'll be looking for more of the same in 17, as well as our larger projects, the residual management, along with the new water line to Rafferty. And Kevin, I know you're going to be very busy, as if you haven't been busy enough, and we appreciate your efforts in that regard as well. And we will also continue to have open lines of communications with our community and deal with the day-to-day issues as they arise. So if I could have a motion, please, to accept my report, we can move on with the next presentation. Thank you, Councillor Groba. Seconded. Thank you. Councillor Travis. There we go again, Councillor Frank. All in favor? It wouldn't be the first year, Travis, or the first meeting if I didn't drag that in. And this evening, I should have mentioned, we've also got Greg Hoffert, who had a hip replacement. He couldn't make it tonight. He does have a cane, but he didn't have the energy, so he's with us on the phone. And we've got Councillor Yanish, who's up on the screen. You can see his smiling face from Hawaii. He said he'd rather be here in Estevan, but unfortunately he's in Hawaii, but I think we can all understand. So our next presentation, it gives me a great privilege to introduce Deputy Chief Rick Davies. I'll give a brief biography. Deputy Chief Davies joined the department April 28th, 2000. He received his firefighter professional qualification level 1 and level 2 in November 2005. He became a captain in 2009. He's the president of the Firefighters Association. He's a second generation firefighter, following in his father's footsteps. Clint Davies, who was a great fireman for us. Clint worked for the Estevan Fire Department for 33 years. He just retired here in 2015, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Clint for all of his valued years of service. So with that, Chief Fieser, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship, Council. Again, I'd like to introduce Deputy Chief Rick Davies. He has been with the department for a considerable amount of time. We look forward to working with him in this new and expanded capacity. Some of the things that the fill in the blanks here, of course, in his time as the president of the association as well, he's done a great job in spearheading and organizing a lot of the provincial fire schools that we've hosted in the past. So he's got a lot of great organizational skills, not to mention that he's also by trade a journeyman heavy duty mechanic. So he's helped us out a lot with troubleshooting some issues in the past here with some of our equipment should they receive some failure and whatnot. And really smart man when it comes to pump operations as well. So we look forward to working in with this new capacity, and he's going to be taking on more of a leadership role, of course, as well as instructing within inside the organization. So again, please join me in a warm welcome round of applause for Deputy Chief Davies.
Welcome to the team, Clint. I know it was fantastic job. Sorry, was I too quick there to run you off? Sorry about that. Even though technology is good, it's not that good, right?
It's not that fast.
Okay, so I know you guys are busy tonight. You're more than welcome to, I think you have practice tonight, Chief.
Yeah, that's correct. We got 5 new candidates that we recently hired, so we're going to give them their orientation training tonight and start outfitting them with some turnout gear, and begin their 40-hour training session before we do our final evaluation with them. So.
Okay, great.
Yeah,
please,
thank you very much
please welcome them as well, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And you know we won't take it personal when you leave the chambers. Thank you. Okay, next, under adoption of the agenda, could I have a motion, please, to accept the minutes of the council meeting held on December 19th, 2016? Oh, adopt the agenda as presented, first of all. Thank you, City Clerk. Okay, Councillor Moore, seconded. Councillor Frank, any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, minutes. Could I have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the council meeting held on December 19th, 2016?
That vote.
Oh, thank you. Councillor Yanish? Yes, we just about forgot about you. Thank you for speaking up. Councillor Hoffert, would you like to jump in second?
Indeed, I would.
There you go. Thank you. We'll have to try to remember to keep you guys involved. Okay, any questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Under original communications, delegations, and petitions, we have a request from MAD. Yearbook message, advertising request. So what's the wish of council on this one, City Clerk? Exactly, you went online. Oh, here it is. Thank you. This is the rate information. Of course, MAD is Mothers Against Drunk Driving. We haven't had much to do with them. I know we have a SAD chapter in town. I don't believe, City Clerk, we have a MAD chapter, have we?
Not that I know.
I don't think so, unless anyone knows any different. But the back cover, 2,200, inside cover, 1,600, full page, 1,300, half page, 875, quarter page, 650, banner, 550, eighth page, 379, business card, 279. Now, this isn't something we've dealt with in the past, but this is totally up to council. So I'll open the floor to hear from council what they'd like to do about this. Any suggestions? Councillor Groba?
I'm just wondering, do we currently support the SAD chapter in Estevan?
You know, I don't know, not donation-wise,
No
do we?
donation-wise, no.
No, we don't.
Maybe we should look at keeping this at a local level before going.
Yeah, I think that's a good comment, Councillor Groba. Why don't we look at, see if maybe we can support SAD, the local chapter, because these people, I don't know, I imagine they're out of Toronto or wherever that may be, so we'll maybe do a little bit of research and get in contact with SAD, which we do have a local chapter, and then have that brought back at the next meeting. Would that be all right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Is that okay?
That would be my
Councillor
recommendation
Frank?
as well. Yeah, MAD's a great organization, but I'd rather see the money stay in our community with many
Okay.
organizations we've got here. So.
Sure, thank you for that. Any further comment, Councillor Yanish or Councillor Hoffer?
Great idea.
Okay, thank you. We'll do that. Okay, next we have another request from the Kinsman Multi-Sport Facility donation request. So they are looking at, of course, I'm sure everyone is aware of, I'll just maybe quickly go over it, but they're looking at assistance for a project, a capital project, which is at Kin Park, and I know they have worked very hard to improve Kin Park over the years, but they're looking at the Hillside Play Park, and they're looking at a sports facility. Now this will be, City Manager, 120 by 75 feet, and the total cost of that will be, I don't see that down here, but I think
Yeah, it was 215.
215,000. So I guess they're doing very well with their fundraising. Oh, there it is, thank you. And they've launched, starting last October, a major sponsorship campaign. And they've hosted their Christmas party. They've raised $6,400 from that. They've also been awarded proceeds from Savor the Southeast, and they're optimistic that they will get at least $20,000 from that event. So they are requesting that the City of Estevan contribute $50,000 toward the Kin Park Legacy Fund for this outdoor sports facility. Thank you in advance for your ongoing support and partnership on this project. We hope that you will consider all of the positive benefits that this facility would have on our city when considering our financial request. We look forward to meeting with the members of council to discuss this request in more detail. We're optimistic that the financial support of the city will help make this dream come true. So what's the wish of council on this?
Your
Go
Worship.
ahead. Go, if that's okay, Councillor Moore, I'll go with Councillor Hoffert and then yourself. Go ahead, Councillor Hoffert.
Yeah, I just to the city manager, can you remind me, did you have anything pencil in the budget for this?
No, we did not.
Along with that, City Manager, did you have any thoughts on that? It is a worthwhile
Yeah, I'll let,
effort, but-
to your worship, I'll let council decide that. It is, as you look into more of it, it is a community facility. So if council wants to get behind that, I'm not sure what the capacity to have Timbits or Bruins versus Red Wing games are out there. So I guess if you're looking at it as a park contribution, or if you're looking at it as a community facility contribution, but I do think it's at a size big enough that it'll be used year round. So that would be my only comment towards council.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, because we hadn't talked about it or put it into the budget, I'm wondering, besides the cash being asked about, if we couldn't contribute in kind some way with permits or with cleanliness of the grounds or helping out in that direction, because I'm wondering who's going to look after this piece of property now that it's going to be a big part of the community. I'm thinking
Once it's finished, Councillor Moore, it'll fall to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we didn't have it in the budget, then could we help out in other directions that would just...
Sure, work in kind. We can talk to our managers and see what we can come up with ideas, and we can bring this up as well if you like at the next meeting.
I think it would work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Councillor Vroba?
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just also wondering too, like I know they say that there's $20,000 optimistically looking at being raised with Savor the Southeast. However, that event is just going to get bigger. Hopefully they would raise more. Maybe we could also look at holding off on saying 50,000 till after we see what they raise at Savor the Southeast and then see what their shortfall is.
Okay, that's a fair comment.
I'd be in favor of supporting them. I'm just not sure if they need the whole 50 if they make more at Savor the Southeast.
Okay, no, that's a fair comment. Thank you for that. And in the interim, it'll give us more of an opportunity to go over our own budgets. As you know, our budget will be coming up next meeting. So, okay, if that's the wish of council, then do we have a motion to that effect? Then will you make that motion, Councillor Crowe? Thank you. Have we got a seconder? Okay, Councillor Yanish, seconded. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Greg, when I say all in favor, maybe you and Lyle can just say aye.
Okay.
If you would, yeah. That would. Lyle has been making gestures at me already. I kind of get some of them what he means, but yeah, with yourself on the phone, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, under written reports of committees this evening, we have none. Under executive reports, we've had the opportunity in between meetings, and I'll go over this briefly, to look at a new fire hall building, the possibility of a new fire hall building purchase, and we'll discuss that tonight in open council. City Council and City Administration are both aware of the needs for a new fire hall. Chief Dale has been after us for a while. A new fire hall, the estimates to build a new one range from 7 to 9 million. We have earmarked land in the Dominion Heights area for a new fire hall, and we have been talking about it for a number of years, but nothing concrete to date. But we've got the old Murray GM building located at 801 13th Ave, which is up for sale. We've all taken a walk around. City Administration has also been involved, taking a walk around, and of course Dale and his people as well. They feel it's very suitable for a fire operation. There's front office space ideal for the number of staff that we're looking at. We'd have to put in a couple of overhead doors, but otherwise we've got enough space, and lot-wise it's large enough to entertain the large fire trucks that we have in place. To the north of the main office, there's ideal space for both command units during cold weather. Right now, these vehicles need to be kept running, so that would not have to be the case. We'd have the opportunity, we'd have the space to put them inside. The other issue is the retention of the existing fire hall, and council will need a lot more discussions on that, but that is a city asset, and we're looking at potentially, because as we already know, we're looking at down the road, we have to expand the police station as well. They're overcrowded right now as it is. So potentially we could look at using the old fire hall to expand the police station. So here's another comment that we've got from the city manager. The current city council is dedicated to debt reduction. This purchase would have direct impact on the debt reduction plan that is in place. City administration has the duty to identify options that will save the city money over the long term. Significant debt reduction can still occur over this council's term, while at the same time saving upwards of 5 to 10 million in future expenditures that we would have to spend eventually for a new building, and also for police upgrades as well. The city now also retains serviced land that will no longer be needed for a future fire hall if we go ahead with this. So that land can now be sold to help recoup some of these costs as well. So I'll maybe leave it at that and open the floor to council.
Your worship?
Go ahead, Councillor Hoffer.
Yeah, thank you for that. I guess, and I'm sorry if I missed, and I don't want to repeat anything you did say, but the hearing is a bit of a challenge. But at Space, we've heard from Dale Feeser, the fire chief, is a problem for a long time. Right now, it's important to know that we have fire trucks parked in multiple locations. They don't all fit in our current fire hall, and that's a key safety issue for both our citizens and our fire staff to organize that. You mentioned the huge savings. The location of the new hall couldn't be a lot better. It's just in an ideal location, far better than the land that was identified. You did identify the two assets, the land and the old fire hall, that can factor into the affordability of this. The other thing is the new agreements that have been entered in with some of the surrounding communities at a substantially higher contribution rate also put the fire department in a much better financial position as well. I know I chatted with the Reeve of the Arm of Benson today, and who advised me they have a new agreement, and though he was pleased with it, it does cost them a lot more to enjoy our services. So there are a lot of factors in this, and it certainly wasn't an easy decision, but it's certainly one that seemed to make sense.
Yes, thank you for that, Councillor Hoffert. And we are utilizing a building or two down at City Yard right now that I know Norm Mack would love to get a hold of, so that would give him an opportunity to utilize that space for some of his equipment as well. So any other comments from, go ahead, Councillor Frank.
One of the other great benefits of this building, having been getting to go walk through with Dennis and Greg there, was the fact that this building will have space for additional vehicles on top of what we currently have. So we can expand into it is the current plan, I believe, as the measurements have changed since we last looked at it. But the huge benefit to the city for this is that we are able to continue expanding the fire hall without actually having to expand the building now in next, which should hold us for the next number of years anyway. So
Exactly.
great benefit.
Yep. Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, having the tour of the building, it's a total win-win situation for the city and the residents, and looking long-term, we are going to be saving not hundreds of thousands, but we're going to be saving millions of dollars. And it's certainly in the right area with lots of room for expansion, whatever the expansion may be over the years. So I think for the citizens and the fire department, it would be a win-win situation, right, for the whole package.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Vroba.
Thank you, Your Worship. I too am in favor of this purchase. I think it's going to save a lot of money down the road, and the existing lots that we have right now that were in plan for the new fire hall, those would now be sold into residential lots.
Well, we haven't decided yet. That would go through land development. Right now, it's zoned for institutional, but we could even rezone that. It's along 47 North. We could even rezone that commercial, which would make it more attractive as well. So we've got quite a few options depending who would be interested in purchasing it.
Okay, so that would be another revenue source though too.
Exactly, that's correct.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. I think we've lost Lyle. Lyle, are you still with us? Can you hear us? Well, I guess we'll say aloha to Lyle until we get him back, but.
Are the Speedos missing?
Okay.
That one? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there he is. Excuse us, we're going to try to get Lyle back. So while we get Lyle back online, could we have a motion then to that effect? I know all of council is in favor of that. Wait, you want to wait until we get him back on? Yeah, that's what I was hoping we could get a motion and then we
I don't
can.
know, it's not connecting to the Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You want to?
Sure, let's go ahead with the motion.
So do we need to state?
At this point, we'll get a motion to go ahead with the purchase, and then further on in the meeting, we'll refer to the city manager and he'll suggest what his game plan is and how we're going to pay for it.
So then I will make the motion that we go ahead with the purchase of the former Murray Gym building for the new fire hall.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Travis, have we? Okay. It's connecting, it's still connecting. Have we got a?
There he is.
Hey, Lyle, did you want to speak to it? Have we got a seconder first of all?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Yanish. Did you want to speak to it, Councillor Yanish, or?
I like the building, the facility, the firefighters actually trained directly on site too instead of going elsewhere. The other part about it is, I don't know if the citizens asked for that, know that when there's a fire call for a certain piece of equipment that we have in the city yard, those firemen report to the hall first, get dressed, jump in their own vehicle, drive down to the city yard, unlock the gate if it's the weekend, have to go into the building, get the equipment out, so that's definitely, like Councillor Hopper talked about, a safety concern, and it could have been a matter of a life and death situation that we just went through, and this would make it so much easier for everybody.
Okay, well, thank you, Councillor Yanish, for that. Roberta, could you hear that? Not very good. Yeah. Lyle was, well, Councillor Yanish was just reiterating the fact that some of the equipment is down at the city yard, and when the firemen need it, they have to go unlock the gate, especially if it's after hours, and it's just takes a lot more energy and a lot more response time to get to the call when they have to do that. So thank you for that, Councillor Yanish. Councillor Hoffert, did you have anything to add?
Nope.
Okay, I'll call for the vote, and Councillor Yanish, is that a parakeet in your room, or is that just being in Hawaii? I wasn't quite sure there.
Outside, we got the windows open, you have to have them open.
Okay, no, that's awesome, okay. So I'll call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. City Clerk, you got that? Everyone agree? Okay, thank you, everyone. Next, under executive reports, oh, and did I mention, well, I guess we'll talk about the actual number, city manager, when we get to that a bit later. Helen Fornwalt, we've got Helen's 2016 EMO report, and I'll just quickly go over it. She's been very busy. Helen's been involved with the fire chief, group crisis intervention training, with the U.S. Border Traffic Emergency Planning Workshop, Boundary Dam Station Emergency Response Tabletop. They also talked about flood control, heaven forbid if the dam, if there was ever any issues out there. The airport emergency plan was revised. The development and execution of leisure services, emergency evacuation plans, the summer games, developed emergency procedures for all of the sport venues. Annual fire and safety inspections were completed in all city facilities. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, on June 24th, we had that huge downpour. It wasn't as bad as the one on July 10th, but it caused considerable damage, and that took up a lot of Helen's time, along with all of our emergency personnel. And then the flash flood, the large event, which was 5 to 7 inches, that took place July 10th. So Helen was very busy along with all of her people during that time as well. A recovery center was opened to assist the public. The Red Cross was involved. We distributed information about cleanup after flood and public health information, distributed cleanup kits. Sask Energy was there giving information regarding gas safety before and during the flood. Sask Power also was involved regarding electrical safety. Mental health was there. Rapid response companies were involved. Restoration companies, PDAP information and applications. So it was a very busy time. And as was mentioned earlier about the mutual aid, those meetings were held, and we're getting those all wrapped up with all of the surrounding RMs that we look after as far as fire protection. We're getting all those agreements wrapped up. Airport tabletop exercise was done with the EMO team. Attended the annual SEPA, Saskatchewan Emergency Planning Association. Hosted a Red Cross course, ready when the time comes for the EMO team members. Worked with emergency services on the following projects: Millen Crescent rehabilitation, the gravel road rehabilitation project from the 2011 flooding from Woodlawn Avenue South, and also the Kensington Avenue North project that we did last year. And recapping, the following events occurred: the June-July flooding, which included a lengthy recovery phase, the Summer Games, airport show, and of course the train derailment capped everything off. So Helen has been very, very busy. So that was a great report. Could I have a motion, please, to accept that as presented? Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Frank. Any further questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Next, under executive reports, we have from the Water Wastewater Manager, Associated Engineering proposal for coordinating affluent management with SPC. Oh, I'm sorry. First, we have the Fire Chief, the monthly report. I was going to ask Dale, because he's got both November and December. If you look at November, a lot of our expenses are recovered. And then in December, we've got very little expenses recovered. So that was going to be my question to Dale, what the deal is there, but I guess we can maybe get an answer for that at the next meeting in writing, because we don't have very good recovery on the December report. Councillor Groba?
Thank you, Your Worship. I think that in November it was due to the train derailment, that it was an extra $3,600 in revenue there.
Yeah, they paid a good sum for that. Maybe that was in large part, but these false alarms, City Manager, don't they have to pay when we get called out?
Yeah, if it's a preventable false alarm, so I'll follow up with Dale on.
Yeah, we'll have the City Manager follow up. So with the City Manager following up, could we have a motion, please, to accept the fire reports as presented? Thank you. Councillor Froba, seconder. Councillor Yanish, I saw a hand. Thank you.
Yes, please.
All in favor? Carried.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, sorry, Kevin, now we have you up, Water Wastewater Manager, Associated Engineering proposal for coordinating affluent management with SBC. Now, in a nutshell, Kevin, and I know we've been meeting for years with Associated and with SBC, with the wetlands, we ship our water to Shan. They use that in the cooling towers. It isn't the best product. They spend about $1 million a year treating it to make it efficient. So we are looking at coordinating with them, synergies, working with them. We each pay half of this project and looking toward finding something that maybe we can put in place at the wastewater treatment plant that will give us efficiencies, give them a better product, and save them money as well as us in the final analysis, correct?
That is correct, Your Worship. The biggest thing here is the city will have to invest some money into the treatment structure at some point in time in the future, and wastewater treatment plants are notoriously expensive. So any partnership that we can strike now would help in that endeavors in the future. This is a very preliminary. Associated Engineering actually came to the city and to SaskPower with this idea. They brought on some manpower in-house from SaskPower, and they also knew our history with the wastewater treatment plant facility because they've done other work with us. And so this is their proposal, just to get the two sides together and some formal agreement moving forward. So I believe the report recommends $7,000.
Yeah, initially, and
a piece, but my, I guess, recommendation would be that the city will fully endorse this as long as SaskPower is putting in equal money, because this will set up the terms going down the line in the building this facility sometime down the line. So yes, I think this would be very beneficial to the city if we do gain a real powerful partnership with SaskPower in this endeavor. But I guess we will have to make sure we're negotiating with them and that they are coming up with their share of the money, and then we can move forward from there.
okay, thank you very much for that, Kevin. Any further questions from members of council of Kevin Suter, our manager? Basically, I agree. I think it's a win-win. It's an opportunity for us to partner with SPC and to get this done in partnership. They'll get to save money and we'll get to get some needed infrastructure work done in the front end of the wastewater treatment plant. Councillor Yanish, did you have any questions? You're okay?
No, I totally agree with everything.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Hoffer?
No questions.
Okay. Do we have a motion then to move forward with this? Councillor Moore?
Motion.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Yanish. Any further questions? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Aye.
Thanks. I didn't hear you, Greg. Did you fall off your stool? I hope not. We'll take that as a yes.
I'll let you know if I'm opposed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, from engineering, we've got provincial territorial infrastructure component. Now, this is a federal as well as a provincial component, clean water and wastewater fund. We have an opportunity, although I'll maybe let the city manager speak to this. We don't really have this in our longer 3-year plan as far as affording this, but these are things that we would like to do down the road, such as taking care of the storm sewer issues that we have, putting in a water loop around the city north of Princess Street, and a few of these other, like Westview, the combined sanitary and storm, that's to the tune of 4.8 million. We've got the Northwest Sewer Main and Storm System. That's 8.8 million. We've got the water transmission. The design is in process on that one. In progress, I'm sorry, 4.9 million. And we've got Hillside and King Street Storm Sanitary Water Main System upgrades. And that's 12 million. Now, these are all grants that we would be applying for. But to be honest, City Manager, I don't know if we can afford something like this at this juncture. We've got the King Street that we want to do. We want to continue to pay down portions of our debt. And we've also got the water main, or the water line that we want to put in during this term to Rafferty. And we've also got the residual management. So what's your thoughts on this?
Yes, Your Worship. Obviously, administration brings any type of funding that we may be able to apply for and get to council. I believe we could put in the applications, and if at that point we were approved to the next phase, I think there's a discussion at that point as well. These are things that we're going to be needed at some point. So whether we start putting in applications now or look for applications into the next intake of funding, I guess I'll leave that up to council. I don't think. I think it's prudent to put in applications so that these are then on the radar of everyone who would be approving them.
Okay, thank you for that, City Manager. So I guess the caveat is we can always say no. Go ahead, Councillor Verba.
That was actually, thank you, Your Worship, that was actually my question when I was even reading out the council package. Can we go ahead and apply? They have our support, and yet if we get the funding but we feel we can't fund it, we just back out? Would that affect us later down the road? Would they say, well, we already approved them once, they didn't go ahead with it? That would be my only fear.
Yes, to Councillor Verba. Yes, I'm unsure of that as well. We did talk about that this morning, is if you're putting items in and then you don't proceed when if it's approved, if that impacts any funding. So I can double check with other cities and see what they do when they don't know if they're going to be financially viable to commit to their portion of any project they receive funding or not, and see if anybody else has had any issues with that.
Yeah, that is a valid point.
Yeah.
The only thing I know with the present project that we've got with the residual management and the Rafferty line for cleaner water, Kevin, we've been after that for what, 5-6 years? So usually it is a long process. Yeah, so what we could do is prioritize, and maybe we need a bit more time. I would suggest we need a bit more time to look at this. But I guess, when's the deadline? It's coming up here pretty quick, Kafloom, isn't it?
January 23rd.
Okay, so then I guess we don't have that opportunity. So what is your suggestion as far as priority of these projects? What would you suggest? Yeah, step up to the mic and let yourself be known, my friend.
There are four options that's presented to the council for decision, and we can apply for two of them in the same application. The hillside area has been affected by the flood every time there is heavy rainfall, so that will be upsizing the drainage system that drains into King Street and then down to the valley. That will be my first one. In doing so, that will give us an opportunity to rebuild the road as well as sanitary and water main, whatever needs to be done. Second one would be the cross connection of sanitary and storm system in the Westview area. That will be, we need to separate them sooner or later, so that would be my second choice. The third one would be Northwest Sewer Main, and that would be was storm and the sanitary system. And then the fourth one would be, of course, the water line, transmission line to go around the city on the north side.
Okay, so with the deadline pending, you would suggest the first two, correct, that you mentioned?
Yes. And then for those two, there is higher funding for CWWF, clean water and wastewater fund. That is 50% by the feds, 25% by the province, and then 25% by the city. That pretty much, if we allow so much for utilities every year, and then if we phase it out over 4 or 5 years, that probably will, I'm sure we will be able to meet our commitments of the 25% for those two areas. So my recommendation is those two, but we don't have to stick to that. We can do any combination of those four. And as I attached in the report, the RM is interested in a joint application for the Northwest Sewer Main as well as the water main transmission.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Cthulhu. Go ahead, Councillor Vroba.
I was just wondering, how come the deadline is so quickly? Like, why do we find out today, but it's 23rd? Like, is this something that we just found out about, or is this something you were maybe working on and we just didn't know about it yet?
I think, Cthulhu, you have been working on this for a while, correct?
Yeah, the report was prepared before Christmas. The week it was available, I put the report together, and the first time we can present this was today. So basically, we did not waste any time.
Okay, so I guess taking into account your two recommendations, Cthulhu, what's the wish of council? Councillor Moore?
Thank you, Worship. I would suggest we move along with the two issues that we're talking about, and then we'll decide if we can afford to pick up the difference when the time comes that we get the report back, and I'm sure we'll be okay to move on with it. They're both projects that we have to do, so I'd make the recommendation that we move on with it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Moore. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Frank? Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I never heard Greg, but I take it that's an aye from our friend Greg over there. Okay, Parks Manager, good evening, Rod. Thank you for coming tonight. You've refurbished the cemetery bylaw. You've made improvements. Any main issues you'd like to speak to tonight, this evening?
Thank you, Your Worship. Basically, it's a whole new bylaw. There was several different inconsistencies throughout the previous 21 bylaws that we had to straighten out. So what this new bylaw does is 4 main things, really. It clarifies and streamlines procedures for administrative and record keeping. We run our cemetery through a software called Stone Orchard. It does all the financial as well as records. So we need to make sure that this bylaw is in line with what our systems can handle. That was one of the changes. We have to align with legislated and our provincial registry requirements. We have made changes in the cemetery with a new columbarium. There are several new plots available for sale now. All that was surveyed. We have a new veteran section up there that was surveyed, so all these records need to go to the registrar. So this bylaw allows for that. Thirdly, we're removing the care and maintenance administrative function from our bylaw. We're not required as a city to have a care and maintenance fund. So we're removing that. And what that does is allows just ease of operations, allows me to access that funding to do some much needed work in the cemetery. As it exists now, you're only allowed to spend the interest on that amount. And this in no way absolves us of our obligations to look after the cemetery by any means. In fact, it's very detailed in the bylaw as to what we are obligated to do. So that one's taken out, straightened out. And finally, then there's an update to the Schedule A. And, you know, as the administrator of the cemetery, I get so many questions about prices and definitions and all that. So what I've done is just streamlined everything here, added in the plots, updated the Schedule A, which are the fees that we do, simplified it to a huge extent. But I've also, in doing that, I looked at 14 municipalities across Saskatchewan, and we're still below the average. So for all services, I think, so what I'm suggesting here in this bylaw from 2013 is an 8% increase in our fees, and we're still below the average.
Okay, thank you very much, Rod. Thank you for all of your work and your staff's work on this. I'll open the floor to council for any suggestions, questions on this updated report. Go ahead, Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Your Worship, too, Rod. So when was the last time this would have been reviewed? Like, if we left this sit for a long, long time, or?
Councillor Moore, it was the last amendment to a bylaw was done in 2013, and that was to increase some of the fees. Prior to that, the last full bylaw was 2012, and then there were 20 or 19 previous to that. So I reviewed every one to see what we actually agreed to in the past, because at one point we actually supplied the bases for monuments that are crumbling, but we've always been clear that we don't look after monuments, right? Because it's a personal choice. But seeing we did supply the bases, I think it's only right that if they crumbled apart, we should fix it. The same thing with the columbarium. We put that structure there. If it's falling apart, it's up to us to fix it. If we're, you know, those things are $3,000, close to $3,000 a piece to buy, you know, for people to lay to rest there. So this bylaw, again, it allows us to say, yes, we will look after this in perpetual forever. But to answer your question specifically, it was 2013, and then 2012 was the last.
Oh, that's very good. I thought maybe we hadn't done anything with it for a while. So I personally would be in favor of the increase, only because if it still puts us in an average or less than average,
we're less than average.
I think that it's important that we keep up with the times, and if that's what it takes, I'd be willing to make the move that we do that.
Okay, well, thank you for that, Councillor Moore. At this juncture, we'll be asking for acceptance of the report. Any questions from Councillor Yanish or Councillor Hoffer? Okay, go ahead, Councillor Vroob.
Thank you, Your Worship. So just to clarify, Rod, are you saying that now the city will be responsible for all monuments that are there, like the bases?
No, in fact, we were never responsible for monuments, but during a period of time in the 60s and into the 70s, we supplied the bases for those monuments.
Yeah, that's what I meant, the bases. Like, so are we liable for those bases now, or just the ones from the 60s?
Just the ones from the 60s.
Not the rest aren't grandfathered in? Okay.
That's correct. And we only allow certain, now it's only certain materials allowed that will not deteriorate.
So when we fix one, do we fix it with those materials?
We haven't had to.
Okay.
No, I haven't had to yet.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Vrova. So do we have a motion to accept the report, please? Councillor Vrova, second it. Councillor Frank, any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay, next we have from Land Development, the building permit report for December 2016. Could we have a motion for that, please? Thank you, Kafloon. Councillor Yanish, was that your hand? Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Moore. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next, from Land Development again, the proposed zoning 521 5th Street. So this will be acceptance of the report, and later we'll be changing the bylaw to accept this. And basically, it's a commercial building that they're going to put a playground structure of some kind in. So we had to rezone it for them. So what's the wish of council on that? Do we have acceptance of the report, please? You've got it before you.
I was just wondering when I was reading it, like this playground structure, is this like a business now that will be going in there to, I wasn't quite sure of what type of playground structure, like is it a bouncy house, is it
Yes,
trampolines, is it?
something like that, Councillor Vroba. Rob didn't get all the details, but he thought it might be like a climbing wall,
Oh, okay.
something like that for the kids to institute in this, in part of this building.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, could we have a motion, please, to accept this report from Rob? Thank you. Councillor Moore, seconded. Councillor Vroba, questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll go to introductions of bylaws. First, we'll do the one we just talked about. We've had the report, so now it's bylaw 2017-1978, amending zoning and residential, 521 Fifth Street, first reading. We'll give first reading tonight, and then we'll advertise for a couple of weeks. So could we have a motion, please, for first reading? Councillor Moore, seconded. Councillor Frey. Thank you. Questions or comments? All in favor? Carried.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have for first reading, we've got bylaw 2017-1979, the cemetery bylaw. Again, we'll advertise for a couple of weeks, and then it'll come back to council. Could I have a motion, please, for that, for first reading? Lyle, was that you? Did you have your hand up there? You did, thank you. Greg, did I hear you say something?
Seconder.
Second, thank you. All in favor? Carried, thank you very much. And our third bylaw for first reading tonight is bylaw 2017-1980, borrowing bylaw for capital purchases for 2017 for first reading. And City Manager, would you mind just going over that for us, please?
Yes, Your Worship. So to complete the requested amount of rehabilitation on the King Street, we estimate that $1 million will get us what we need to have done this year. We continue to pay down debt at $4 million principal each year. So the recommendation is to do a borrowing bylaw for $1 million for King Street and $2.5 million for the purchase and initial modifications to the building at the 801 13th Avenue. So this would still leave us a reduction this year, ideally of $500,000 of our debt. So we'd still be reducing debt and saving money in the future. So that's what this bylaw is recommending. We do have a 15-year amortization that we're going to do this at 3.81% over that period.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. Have we got any further questions from members of council on that game plan? Okay, if not, could we have a motion, please, for the first reading, and then we'll advertise for 2 weeks, get feedback from the public for bylaw 2017-1980. Thank you, Councillor Vroba. Have we got a seconder? Councillor Frank, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. We lost, oh, there's Lyle. Yeah, okay, I saw your hand, Lyle. Thank you.
Aye.
Yeah, everyone said aye there, City Clerk. Everyone was in favor. So under public hearings and reports this evening, we have none. Giving notice this evening, I see no motions. Motions from committee. I see no motions coming from committee. Consideration of bylaws. Now, these are the bylaws at the last meeting that we gave first reading. City Manager, we advertised for a couple of weeks. Any response? First of all, on amendments to zoning to regulate zoning in the city.
No comments were received,
City,
Your Worship.
City Clerk, thank you. Okay, well, for that one then, bylaw 2016-1974 this evening, we'll give second and third readings. So could I have a motion, please, for second reading? Councillor Moore, thank you. Seconded, Councillor Yanish, thank you. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. And since we have advertised, I will ask for third and final reading and adoption for use for bylaw 2016-1974. Councillor Vrova. Seconded by Councillor Frank. All in favor? Carried. Thank you so much. Yes, with you guys being gone and we can't see you too much tonight, Councillor Travis is doing yeoman's work. I shouldn't say Travis. Frank, sir. Okay, next, consideration of bylaws, bylaw 2016, 1976, amendments to building bylaw to regulate building construction. City Clerk, have we had any feedback from that? We've had none? Okay, so tonight we'll give second and third reading of that. Could I have a motion, please, for second reading for bylaw 2016-1976, amendments to the building bylaw to regulate building construction? Councillor Moore, thank you. Councillor Yanish, second, thank you. Any questions or comments on that on second reading? Go ahead, Councillor Frank.
So this one I did have a couple of questions on, mostly pertaining to the request to put in a deposit. So what they're asking for is a deposit of 5% of any building permits with a maximum of $5,000. I had a chance to speak with the building inspector a little bit, as well as a couple contractors in town. And I guess my biggest question to this is just in this economy, when we're kind of trying to encourage a little bit more construction, in terms of economic development, I'm not sure what we think on that. I know there's a lot of pluses to it, just in terms of making sure that we don't have builders that are not doing a great job or not following any of our other bylaws. But my concern with this was we'd be asking for that much more money up front, so I'm not sure.
No, that's a fair comment, and thank you for that, Councillor Frank. It is added expense up front, but what we've encountered, and unfortunately it's always a few that make it bad for everyone else. We've had people that have taken out building permits, and to this day, 8 years later, 9 years later, we have a neighborhood, we've got good neighbors, they look out their window every single day and they see bare bones, rafters, because this individual, for whatever reason, has not finished his building. And it causes a lot of consternation in whole neighborhoods. They're upset because if you were trying to sell your house in that neighborhood and you had a neighbor that took out a permit and then never did anything for 8-9 years, well, I can only imagine how upset you'd be. So although it is an added cost, potentially, it's there for the people that simply refuse to finish a project, and it is very frustrating.
Definitely. So I guess my question was, would this be possible, and maybe the city clerk or manager answer this one, but is it possible instead of a deposit that we look at this as potentially a fine instead? The one fear that was pointed out to me that I definitely agree with is that by putting this in as a deposit, we may have some of these people potentially not filing for building permits then, or just causing more grief that way.
Okay, that's a fair comment. I'll defer to city manager and city clerk for their opinion.
Councillor Frank, through your worship, that's not a horrible idea. I think right now we have no teeth in our current bylaws to go after this person. If we could somehow create a fine system that, if unpaid, it could go to the property taxes of the homeowner, I think that would work. We'd have to check the Cities Act to see if that is something that could be transferable to the property taxes. Right now, it's usually just a service that the city provides, not a fines, can generally not be levied. So I can definitely look into that for you.
Okay, that's a very good suggestion, Councillor Frank. City Clerk, did you have anything to add? If not, what we can do is not pass this bylaw tonight. We'll just suspend the voting on this bylaw. We'll send it back to the good graces of the city manager, and he'll look at the opportunity perhaps of putting a fine instead for these people that do not cooperate and finish their buildings. And then we'll just let this fall into abeyance, correct, City Clerk? And then we could, or what's your suggestion on that? Because if we don't pass it within a certain amount of time, it falls into abeyance.
Correct.
So we could do that on this bylaw, allow it to fall into abeyance, bring in the new bylaw with the fines, and then go with that one, correct?
If it's allowable under the land.
Yeah, if we can allow.
That's the thing.
So maybe we should have a motion, then can we at least defer this now, this motion,
We don't-
until the following meeting, or what's your thoughts?
If you don't want to pass third reading, you're not on board for passing third reading, and no one's going to vote to do that, then let it sit and get your report back to go for third reading.
Okay, so I will ask for second reading tonight.
We've already done that.
Okay, we've already got, did everybody vote on that?
Right.
Okay, so we've got second reading, and then we'll just leave it in abeyance now till the next meeting. That'll give the city manager the opportunity to do some research, and hopefully if we can do the fines, and good for you for bringing that up, Councillor Frank, good idea, then we can move forward on that. If council's okay with that, that's what we'll do.
If the rest of council's okay with that, just.
Okay, Councillor Yanis, you're okay with that? Thank you.
You betcha.
Councillor Hoffer, are you okay?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, we'll move forward. We have one more bylaw to do, to give second and third reading. That is bylaw 2016-1977, bylaw to amend zoning, Highway 109, Highway 47 South. And I think that was for a beautician down there. They wanted to open up part of the building and have that allowable. So at this time, I will ask for a second reading for bylaw 2016-1977, bylaw to amend zoning. Thank you, Councillor Vroba. Have we got a seconder? Councillor.
Seconder.
Oh, thank you, Councillor Hoffer. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Carried. Everyone's in favor. City Clerk, thank you. Now could I have third and final reading, please, for bylaw 2016-1977, bylaw to amend zoning 109, Highway 47 South for adoption and use. Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Vroba, all in favor? Carried. Thank you so much. Now we'll start with inquiries. Councillor Hoffert, this is your, usually I start on your side with you and Councillor Vroba, so what have you got for inquiries this evening?
Just a co-inquiry of the city manager. I wondered if we've had a chance yet to tally up the net costs of the snow removal for the month of December, and if so, how that compares to the budget, and if not, if we could ask for that in advance or for the next meeting.
Yes, I can get that for you, Councillor Harper.
Okay. And this I asked Jeff previously to the meeting, but just curious as to all the other cities in the province and what they're proposing for a tax increase prior to the next meeting as well.
Yes, I have most of those offered. I'll bring them.
Okay.
Offered, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ward.
Thank you, Councillor Hoffert. Councillor Hoffert, you're pretty sharp tonight. You picked that up pretty good. You're not too medicated, you can tell. That's a good thing. Did you have anything else under inquiries tonight?
No, that's good.
Okay, thank you so much. Councillor Vroba?
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, one of the biggest things I've been hearing the last couple weeks is just how good the city is doing with cleaning the streets. I know Norm was on holidays, but his crew did a great job, and so everyone is saying thank you, and they're enjoying what's happening out there. So again, it would be nice what Councillor Hoffert said about knowing how much it cost us, but I heard that there was money in the last 2016 budget to cover a portion of that, so hopefully
That's correct.
that was correct that I've been telling people, and yes, good
Super.
job for the city.
Thank you so much. Yes, I too would like to commend our staff. All of our staff do tremendous work. And Norm has really been under the gun with the heavy snowfall, and he's risen to the occasion. Him and his staff have done a great job. Councillor Frank? Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I should. Councillor Yanish, you're on that side before I get to Trudy, so go ahead. Sorry about that.
Actually, the only thing I have is nobody's inquired for me down here. But the only thing I've heard was, how do you live in Saskatchewan with it being so cold?
Exactly. Well, we miss you, and we wish that we could be with you in Hawaii, but unfortunately, somebody always has to stay behind and work.
Yeah. I will be home shortly. I'm coming home this.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Councillor Yanish, and thank you again for Skyping in. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Councillor Frank?
None this evening here.
None? Okay, thank you. Councillor Moore?
I have none this evening, thank you.
Okay. So, City Manager, did you have anything?
Just that the budget package is online, so take a look at it. We're looking for feedback on that as well. So, and I hope everyone enjoyed Blue Rodeo last night.
Yes, very good band. Thank you, Councillor Brober, and I can attest to that. Very good band. Unfortunately, the turnout wasn't as great as we would expect, but everyone that went, I think, seemed to have a good time. Yeah, a few really had a good time. They were yelling and screaming. It was probably a good thing we didn't understand what it was, but maybe it was directed at me. I don't know, but they seemed to be happy anyway. City Clerk, did you have anything?
Nothing.
And Trudy, did you have anything? Nothing? Okay, with that then, thank you so much everyone for attending this evening. Could we have a motion to move into committee, please?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Hoffert. Seconded. Councillor Frank, all in favor? Carried. Good evening.